have one last guy to talk about. Am I right?
Yes.
This is my least favorite player in all professional sports.
Oh, jeez.
So I would like to hear this shit.
This is not my least favorite, so at least
this is easily
going against one
player. I fucking hate Melo.
I'm confused.
Oh gosh.
I am dying to hear this reasoning. I just think every decision where he could have made a different one to be more successful and have more hardware, he chose not to make. Like, he had so many opportunities to do that. He's done interviews as such saying as much. It was always about the money and getting buckets. And fuck him. That's how I feel about that.
Russ, let him make his argument.
No, that's okay. He could set it up.
I'm setting it up. Go for it.
So I'm not going to trip about the fact that me and Russell disagree on this, because we've established at this point that we have a very different method of how we, how we rank our list. I'm clearly methodical about it, facts over feelings. He's extremely emotional about it. Rocks his head, as he said. Anyway, no, Carmelo, first off, he's still active, and he's already in the top 10 among the all-time leading scorers of NBA history. Mm-hmm. Okay? He's one of the best bucket getters, something that people forget. I mean, just look up a compilation video. He is one of the best, final 10 seconds shot makers of all time. Mm-hmm. Dude is clutch. And people don't seem to notice that because he's not doing it in a lot of the big games that mattered most. Mm-hmm. There's certain situations where things just could have been slightly different, and maybe we view Carmelo Anthony completely differently. For one, draft day. I mean, Darko, I was one of those people who was saying back then, I can't prove it because I wasn't a person on social media yet, but I was one of those people that's like, they need to pick Carmelo Anthony. Who's this a big foreign guy we know hardly anything about, unproven in the league? Take Carmelo. He's a sure thing. And Detroit didn't take him. And if Detroit takes him, I know people say fit and whatever. Dude, that team would have had Ben Wallace, Richard Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Chauncey Billups, and Carmelo Anthony. Come on, he's getting at least one championship, maybe two out of that, because Carmelo was a pretty good player straight out of college. He was pretty productive. He wasn't LeBron, but he was really good. And then you look at 2009. And if the Lakers don't win that championship, if Kobe isn't on an absolute mission doing the, underbite face season, then Denver's winning that series. They were the best team. Yeah, exactly. Denver was the best team in the league other than Lakers, no question. And he fought Kobe tooth and nail. I mean, that was one of the most legendary individual battles I ever remember, was the Western Conference Finals in 2009 between Melo and Kobe.
Yeah.
He put a 40
What's that? Oh, yeah.
He put a 40 piece on him in game one. I remember that.
Oh, yeah. And whether or not it's debatable whether or not you should include the Olympics in it. But if the Olympics are included, then it's easy. Carmelo's in it. 3-time gold medalist, was the highest scoring Olympian ever up until Kevin Durant recently passed it. So if you want to factor that in, it becomes even easier. But just at the rate he's getting buckets, top 10 scorer of all time. Didn't win very much, but he was close, and in the right situation, I think he could have. And a lot of the things like Russell was saying that, kind of shot himself in the foot was just like a question of his intelligence rather than his basketball skills, I would say.
I'm fine with that.
I was so frustrated. Why the heck are you staying with the Knicks? And it even got personal because I remember in after Dwight Howard left, soon after that, 2014 time, he had a chance to come with the Lakers. Yep. And he thought about it. And given how Kobe declined in his health and everything, I actually don't necessarily think that would have been the best situation. But I definitely did not think that staying in frickin' New York was the best situation, knowing that management has been screwing them forever.
Yeah.
And so again, that's just an intelligence thing. But he's one of the greatest scorers of all time. And I'll get you a bucket when it matters.
He also could have waited to go to New York instead of forcing the trade.
That was bad. I forgot about that.
So unnecessary.
Yeah. He could have had that whole, pretty much that Nuggets team that Russell says that he loves so much in 2012. He could have had that as his bench
That's another reason why I love them so much, is because I just think about, oh, this is what Melo could have had on New York, and instead he went on fucking Melo's team and without him, and did the same, and still managed to be extremely successful.
A lot of it's circumstance, though, too, because I mean, like with Melo, his best season with New York was 2012 to 2013. They were 55 and 27 that year, and who did they run into? The Miami Heat. They were coming off of winning 27 straight games that year with Wade, Bosh, and Melo and Ray Allen. Like, that's not fair on Melo. Like, that was his best chance in New York, and he never really had a chance because LeBron decided, I want to, take all the amazing free agents to Miami. It's like, that's not his fault.
But even with that Knicks team, it was just a live by the three, die by the three situation in New York.
But we were getting to that point where that was starting to work. I mean, but Dallas just did that in 2011, right? They were a 3-point shooting team.
Yeah, but this is where I think about all the things that factor in intelligence-wise. I just don't think Melo would have been able to be the leader in a situation like that. Like, I just don't think. I just don't think so.
And they're probably losing to the Spurs in the finals, so maybe he has a finals appearance, but they're probably losing to Spurs.
So one thing thinking, because after looking into Melo, how much different was he to Dominique Wilkins?
I mean, from a style standpoint.
No, style for sure. I'm talking about overall career. When you look at their career in totality, like we have Dominique Wilkins, like, because I was thinking about that today, because I left Melo out as well, but I started looking into Dominique and Melo together, and it kind of, like, you can argue Melo over Dominique in a sense.
If they left out Melo of the 75, it would be like Dominique all over again. I actually really like that comparison because there's a lot outside of style, outside of approach, that really lines up. One of the greatest scorers of all time, wasn't in the right situation, so ended up getting bounced out of playoffs a bunch. 1988, I think it was 88 or 89 playoffs with Larry Bird. Dominique had one of the greatest solo battles of all time, which is kind of reminiscent of what Melo had with Kobe in 2009. No, it's a great comparison. I like it.
Melo Melo, what they did well in terms of scoring, you could argue Melo did better. It's an argument.
Yeah, and neither player is a good defensive player.
He's just a little ahead of Dominique. Then you got Melo in the playoffs. Melo really did go to the Eastern Conference Finals at least. Nick never left the semifinals. Like that battle against Bird was in the semifinals.
Yeah, but I could argue that the 80s,
it was more competitive.
Especially, it might have been the strongest conference of all time. I agree.
I agree for sure. But that's in terms of, if you're looking at both players, that, like, and you're just trying to give edges to one or the other, like, it. I felt like I that was pretty much my edge with Dominique, is he had to go against in the toughest conference of arguably all time, and had to fight in there, and pretty much he was a top player and everybody knew it. And what I loved about him was the Achilles thing. Like, he pretty much created hope for all players who ever got an Achilles injury.
That's fair.
You can be the next Dominique. Dominique did it. You possibly could do it, and only KD has come close. But
for Melo's
more emotional for me though. Like the Achilles thing, because obviously Kobe, when he had his Achilles injury, it always has to come back to Kobe.
So it hits you in the soft spot.
Yeah, when he got his Achilles injury, that was like all that was on my mind. Is like, this guy did it. Kobe's 100.
He was 4 or 5 years older than Nick at that point, though.
Yeah,
so
for sure. I know that, but I wasn't at the time. I was like 17, and I did not think about that at all. I'm just like, he could definitely do this. Fuck that. Like, no, I wasn't 17. I was like 20 or whatever.
So back to Melo though. Definitely true. Last thing, my last question on Carmelo. So I'm thinking about Melo during that Knicks era. While he was on the Knicks, where did he rank in the East for you? Because for me, he's either third or fourth out of the teams from that period of time.
So we're talking teams, not an individual player.
No, I'm talking teams from that era. Like I have Miami number 1 in that period of time with LeBron, Wade, those guys. I have the Pacers who were battling Miami during that period of time, and the Knicks had an opportunity to go against and could not beat them. And I have the Bulls with Derrick Rose on the come up at that point. I think I have them over that Knicks team.
That's not
my opinion. But I like I like the Bulls more defensively, and then that Knicks squad. Like, I don't know. I don't have the Knicks higher than fourth out of those teams.
I think this is Derrick Rose injury year.
This particular year?
Yeah, he just won MVP the year before.
No, yeah, I put this up so I could get an idea for the era in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not taking Brooklyn seriously at that point. Indiana was weird.
Yeah.
Like, part of me just feels like they just matched up really good with Miami.
Larry Bird, baby.
Like,
Larry Bird
just
making shit happen.
Yeah, they just like, which first of all, like, MVP, Coach of the Year, GM of the Year, like, appreciate Larry Bird because he's the only guy who's ever done that. Like, any form of basketball, he's good at his job, no matter what job he has. But yeah, they're 2 or 3. I mean, they're still 2 or 3 behind Miami. Because the Bulls, I need to remember when Derrick Rose has that injury because we can't pretend that didn't happen.
No.
Yeah. And then Brooklyn, I don't take seriously. And Indiana, you might put Indiana ahead of New York, but I think it'd be a great series. Part of me thinks it was just a great matchup.
It was a series, and they beat them in 6 games.
Didn't Stoudemire get injured in that series, though?
Amari?
So was Indiana the team that eliminated New York that year?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least this.
Well, then technically they have to be 3, right?
Yeah, that's where my head was at.
I don't know. I don't know why.
I remember Melo going up for that dunk. This will be on your screen. I think it was Melo. Melo going up for the dunk, and Roy Hibbert just fucking blocking the shit out of him. Now that was like a microcosm for the whole series.
Then what year did Miami eliminate New York?
To me, it's not fairly comparing the two teams because they weren't at their second best player was injured and not.
But Amari has less of a window than Derrick Rose on the Bulls. Like Amari on the Knicks is even shorter. It felt like he was hurt. Like right after Melo got there, it felt like Amari then fell off.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is when you're talking about that Knicks team throughout the regular season, they were at a stature with Amari. I thought
they were at a stature because of the threes. Like they were making so many threes at that point. With J.R. Smith being the 6th man of the year. Tyson
this was Linsanity year as well, right?
I don't think so. But it's all in the era. It's all like that Knicks. It's all part of that Knicks era. And I still wouldn't put them as second in the East.
Well, if Indiana defeated them by rule, I can't. So they literally
that's
lost.
What I was at. The whole thing. You were saying that the Miami Heat's your least favorite team historically, like that.
I hated them at this time. I mean, I hated LeBron's move to Miami. Part of it was not just because like I hated LeBron or I hate the way it just felt like cheap and cheating and all that sort of thing. That's what I felt like before Kevin Durant went to the Warriors. But I wanted to see LeBron go to New York. He had foreshadowed that. He was always talking about, I love playing in the Big Apple, all that. And it would have felt awesome to see the Knicks like be contenders again with LeBron James. Oh my gosh, he would have been like such a hero in New York, and like that would have been fun to watch. But you take into context everything that went on that season. I had some own drama going on in my personal life too, so my mind was elsewhere. But then you had the Heat. You had Kobe just tore his Achilles, and like we get swept in the first round. It was just so
shit everywhere.
And when LeBron joined. I got to enjoy the defeat, like us beating the Celtics in 2010 for like a month, maybe. It might have been like a few weeks. And then LeBron's like, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. And I'm like, well, that's the end of our dynasty. Like,
but you didn't get happy. You didn't get happy with the Dirk annihilation. That was so fun for me to watch.
It was bittersweet, but we got swept, dude.
Yeah, I was about to say,
I cried that series, but I rooted for Dirk. I was like, if you're gonna sweep my guy, you better beat shit down this dude's leg. Like I was rooting for Dirk. I was talking all types of shit to all LeBron fans. I was like, you can't talk shit about what he did to my guy because he's doing the same thing to your guy.
The old school memes back then. Oh my gosh, that was funny. You know, it's like what was it like the memes where it was like Kobe would be like, I tried calling LeBron, but it didn't ring, or there wasn't a ring. Like stuff like that. Like the 2011 like
the classic, or like I don't pick up after one ring.
yeah. They literally kept it going until like very recently, and they're like, okay, I think he has too many rings for this joke to work anymore.
All right, is that it? Are we good?
Yeah, I think he made a decent point for Melo. Still don't got him in mind, but
I'm confused still about Melo.
I'm not
Really?
putting Melo on my list. I'd put back.
Again, why, Lindsay? Why wouldn't you put him in? Like, why not?
Well, I think I'm more so confused as that, like, because you said you made your list based off of like all around player as well, and I'm just confused as to how Melo fits that.
Because he's so good at what he's good at, and it's scoring. He's one of the top 10 scorers in NBA history, and he's not a good defensive player for sure. I recognize that, but on the offensive end, he's one of the most difficult to guard, especially in the post. And he's a big shot maker that I just don't think was in the right situations a lot of time. Now, again, I'll take the Russell tactic here. He might be my 75. You know, he might be my last guy. I do like your Klay Thompson, and definitely if we were going back to the guys who the NBA missed, and I was considering more of those guys, there's certainly other guys I would consider putting in here as well, because they screwed up on a lot of those. 50.
Well, that was the hard. Yeah, that's going to be the hardest part. I think that's why they're coming full circle, because we started with this and now we'll probably finish with this. I think that's why they are throwing out the old list and just doing a new one. I would think that's the logic of it, is maybe we'll try and get everybody. But I don't know how that's going to be possible. Somebody's going to be mad.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to piss more people off.
Maybe.